So I'm in Costco the other day and I'm walking behind an older couple and something feels off. They're not super old, but they're, older, 60s, something like that. And the guy's dressed a little bit more younger, not very in shape, but younger and just tattoos everywhere. And then the girl is dressed very young. She's got a few tattoos, but just dressed very young, and they look odd to me. The only thing that could happen in my head was it just looked off. It looked like, and this is my interpretation, it looked like two people that just hadn't grown up. Now, I want to make a statement is I don't think that social norms should be put on people in regard to the way that they dress or the what they style, how they style their hair. Her hair was in a different style, but it was an interesting thing for me to think about because it just felt off. It felt like people were holding on to the past and weren't willing to let go. Now, I don't know if that's how they actually were in their minds, okay? But that's how I kind of interpreted it as. And the idea that I had was we are so selfish as humans, just naturally, that we don't want to give up what we've had. We want to continually basically live forever. We want to be young forever. We want to kind of have the same power and the same influence that we've had forever. And I look at that as personified in these people. Like, I still want to be these kids the same. I want to dress the same. I want to be this person that I was when I was 20. But you're not. You're 60 something now. And I'm not saying that you should dress in a certain way and get those big white sneakers and just give up on life. That's not what I'm talking about. But there is a sense of mental of, hey, it's been my time. It's time to move on. And I look at what's happening in governments around the world tend to be, they're starting to see younger people get in there, but our government in the United States is all older people and they don't want to give up power. And they had this stranglehold on our society. And it's like, your time is up. Like, let's move on. We have to, it's just the cycle of life. We have this birth and death and this cycle. And now we are trying to disregard that with technology. And there's people, this guy, I forget his name, but he's trying to live to like 200 and he's taking all these different supplements. And he's got some actually good information on there. But God has a sense of humor, I think. And I think that guy's probably going to end up dying and like getting hit by a supplement truck or something like that. A guy takes like 150 pills a day and that's probably what's going to kill him, or some reaction to some tainted supplement or something like that, which if he had just lived a normal life, he wouldn't have had that. And I look at our obsession with being young and women doing these fillers and these facelifts and all this stuff. I feel like we're missing a bigger, deeper point. And this goes back to the couple that I'm looking at is, again, you can do whatever you want. And I think that's actually fine. I don't want to dress like an old person when I'm old. I want to still be hip and into it. But there's something to the passing of the baton. And maybe it's not up to you. Maybe I want to dress a certain way. And like I'm telling you right now, how I want to dress when I'm 80. But yet maybe there's something to, you need to dress like an old person. You need to move on and give kids their time. I think this is so much of, as I get older, I start to look at kids and I look at what the things that they say and I go, man, they're so stupid. And I go, but maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's not stupid. It's just, they just need to do something different from you. And it's these different cycles of time. And it doesn't matter. It's just what we do over time. You need to break off and be different. And so it brings me to this point of trying to live forever and hold on to power forever. And I look around and there's so many people now, tattoos have become ubiquitous. Everybody has them. And I go, when I saw this older couple, I go, it looks off to me. And it's going to be a huge part of our population if people make it that old, okay? But our older generation is everyone's going to have tattoos. And it's, to me, it's going to be like people that are not willing, it's going to look like that. Now, like I said, whether that's actually true or not, whether these people are willing to give up power or pass the baton on to the next generation in regard to, just the cultural norms or not, they are going to look like they are a old person, a young person trapped in an old person's body. And that's what I looked at this couple as. I go, they look like they're still 21 in their head, but yet they're 67. And I look at it as, you got to accept the fact that you're 67. Now, not to the point that we do in our society. I think those norms need to be challenged, and they are being challenged. My grandma's 90 something years old, okay, 94 or something like that. And she's still driving, she's still doing her thing, still smart as a whip. And the cultural norms are, hey, you need to not be so active, and you need to chill, and you need to, 65, you should retire. I think those things need to be challenged, and we're kind of messing with that now. But there is something to holding on to your life and this expectation that you should have everything that you had that when you were 35, 45, whatever it might be. And I think we're screwing up our balance of the other generations because some of these older people they're living longer, they're living better, but they're not letting go of the power struggle and the influence, and they still want all that. And it's like, look, your time is done. You aren't supposed to be the center of attention anymore. These new kids that are being born and these new people that are rising up into society, it's their time. And if we don't do that, I think we are going to, and we're seeing it right now, we are in for a very weird existence, because the young people are the ones that can work and can contribute at such a high clip. Although you might feel like you're young, although the 70 might be the new 60 or whatever it is nowadays because people are living longer, you're not 30. You're not capable of putting in 12-hour shifts back to back to back and being that productive member of society. And so I see the money is being hoarded. It's the excuses, the disconnect with what's actually happening with people. You see these people who are in their 70s and 80s and they're protesting about what's going on in the world. And you're going, you haven't been a part of the world for the past 15, 20 years. You don't know what's actually going on. You haven't been in the workforce. You don't have any connection to the things that are happening, but yet you want to still impose your will. And it's a very interesting time. And I think that dynamic of, hey, you're in a different phase of your life. You need to accept that you're in a different phase and acknowledge that other people are in their phase that you once had. You can't go back and be that 25-year-old, that 35-year-old, that whatever it is. And I saw it, I just saw a snapshot of it. It was a visual representation of what's happening to us culturally, financially, governmentally, politically. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of what's happening is we're not willing to let go of this old way of thinking. They're not, the older generation, they don't know what's really, they talk about these things, but they're not experiencing it. And these younger people are saying, this is what's going on. And they're like, nah, it's not what's going on. All right, just work harder. And they're going, you don't know what it's like. I have a degree. I'm putting out job applications. I'm willing to work, and nothing is happening. Technology is changing things at such a rapid clip. It's not like it was in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, when we didn't have your job was just another person competing for their job. It wasn't an AI program or some piece of technology that gets rid of millions of workers. And so it's this weird dynamic that we're having. And I think that could be the way, this is just my perspective, my opinion, is that could be the way that we really start to develop our younger generations and actually have the wealth and the economical growth that we want to have, and the decrease in homelessness and the increase in mental health and the physical health of our people, is to pass that baton on in ways. And I really think that they're going to have to give something up. The older generation is going to have to give things up, and they're not willing to do that right now. And that's what I see. I saw it visually represented by, I'm not willing to give up my style, the way that I look. All right, I'm still 25 and I'm going to be like that forever. Like I said, I don't want to judge that couple that I saw or people in general that have tattoos or want to wear their hair differently. But if that's what they do in every aspect of their life, then, like I said, you're going to have situations in government and in culture in money, where they're not going to be willing to give up what they've had. And that's going to change what it's like for the younger generations. They're not going to be able to have the same opportunities because you're hoarding the opportunities. Like in government, right? Our president's in his 80s, okay? And I'm not saying that there's someone that should be president that's in their 20s or in their 30s or in their 40s. I don't know. I don't want to even get into that. But do you see where I'm going with this? It's a cultural passing of the baton, but we're not doing that because we think we know better. And I do that myself. I look at this younger generation and I go, they're so stupid with this and that. And I go, they're in a different phase. They're in a different time. I have to be in my time where I'm at in my stage. I can't go through someone else's stage for them. And I think that is just the cycles of time. So there's just an observation that I had looking at a physical representation of what I believe is happening on a grander scale. And I don't know what the future is going to hold. We're all going to be sitting around with tattoos, okay? Hoarding being those old guys, the Muppets, complaining about what's going on, all right? But meanwhile, we have the ability to change it, but we're not willing to do it because we still want to have our stuff, our things, our power. And it's like, you can change it all. I really believe that we can by passing that baton on. And I don't know exactly how that's going to look, but there's opportunities for people that are not being taken because we're not willing to really give that over to the younger generation. And there's going to be a sacrifice on their end too. And that's what I think the meshing comes together is they're going to have to sacrifice. They're going to have to do things that they might not want to do if they want to get the money or the power or the political persuasion that is happening from the older generation. They're not willing to give it up because they don't trust. And I think that they've got to give up that, and the younger generation does have to be willing to do things. And I think you're going to see that. I think you're actually going to see the younger generation willing to do things because they're going to get desperate enough to sacrifice. And you're going to start seeing some of these older people start realizing what they've been doing and going, oh my God, I've been hoarding these opportunities because I'm not trusting these people because I'm telling them to do better when they're doing as best as they can. And that's really what it's all about, is they're in their own stage of life and they're doing their best that they can. From our perspective, it looks like shit. Just like me, I'm looking at what they're saying and I go, but that's just where they're at that time. And that's the best they got. So I think that the cycles of life and the generations of time, they have to keep moving. And if we hold on to it, if we think we're going to live forever, God's going to have a rude awakening for us. And that's kind of what's happening right now. We're trying to play God and it's not working out for us. And but we have all the resources, we have all this information, all this technology, and it's still not working. because things just have their own life cycle and we have to give up that control and let things move on. And I hope that that's what we end up doing. For the sake of all of us, we have to be willing to sacrifice our time for the next down the line. And sometimes it's some people's time and I have to give it up, all right? And that's just how it goes. So anyways, that's all my thoughts on that today. Until next time, I'll see you then.